Or just say the question again so I can get back to that question.
Oh, okay. Well, my first thought was that, as we were, trying to get this meeting going and it just fell silent for a few moments, and that just allowed me to have some quiet introspection. And so I was aligning to my higher guidance and just, calmly breathing and sitting. And what it felt like it was trying to make, like some kind of point about the importance of what is happening now and putting things into perspective. At least, for me personally, it felt like it was just this recognition that, and this ties into that concept of the darkest night before the dawn that you just mentioned. It's having an awareness of that to put the world into perspective, as we face the challenges in our lives. But I also wondered, are we all just going through the motions and not really maybe most effectively, flowing through these times that we call the darkest night before the dawn? What does that really mean for us personally?
So the main question that I would like to address the Arcturians with is, what does that mean? The darkest night is just before dawn.
Actually, yeah, how that manifests around us as well as within us.
The darkest night before dawn means that it is the now for a shift in energy fields. And it's something that is planetary, because as the sun first hits the planet, it hits different parts of the planet at different parts of time because the planet is moving. And so this darkest night is just before dawn. What that means is that the light is coming, but in order to be able to accept the light, to perceive the light, in order to be able to even perceive the light and then to accept the light, then all of the darkest night / fear needs to become conscious, because fear that is a secret from yourself is something that you can't address. And fear, which many people think of as an enemy, is actually a warning that is there for your safety, or it is that you are moving into new territory, consciousness, thoughts, emotions, creativity, that you're moving into territory that you have not moved into before. And so it's frightening because it's brand new. And as Gaia is moving through her darkest night and into the dawn, then humanity is also moving through their darkest night and into the dawn. Now, the darkest night means something different to probably just about every different person, but there are groups of people and groups of areas that represent that darkness. And what the darkness is, that's the metaphor for change. And there is something that needs to change. And change is constant and continual. Now, this darkest night before dawn is a very deep change. It's a change that has been in the darkness, which means that you have not known about this change completely. You have not prepared for this change. And so it feels dark because it is new, it is different, and you don't know where it will take you. But the dawn is the part of you, that light, the light inside of you, meaning anyone who would listen to this message. That light inside of you is giving you the okay that it's all right now. You are strong enough to face this bit of darkness. You are evolved enough to move into that which had been the darkness into the past. But it was only the darkness because you had not yet shone your light upon it. Do you understand what we are saying?
Yes, it sounds like there are many facets to it, each within our own consciousness and also within the collective consciousness. So I see manifestations of it in many ways and in many instances.
Yes, and this is, if you were living on a planet such as Venus, where the beings on the planet were pretty much on the same page, then it would be much easier. But Earth is a planet of great diversity, and there are many, many different kinds of people in different places. And in order to turn the darkest night into dawn, there needs to be a sense of unity. And so that people can decide, okay, we determine this as darkness. This is what needs to be transmuted. And we want to put our light onto this. But what is our light? What is our individual light? And how do we share our individual light with others? And how do we merge our individual light into collective light? And this is the big challenge for Gaia. You understand what we're saying, right?
Yes, that's quite an undertaking. I think, is this an inherent part of this, the balancing of polarization and also the resolving duality?
Yes. And no. Because just as different people have different raisings and different operating systems and different ways about thinking and perceiving, so does the planet. And humanity has been so accustomed to having power over the planet that they forgot how to listen to the planet, to the collective, to everyone. And in order for a planetary shift to occur, then people need to move into the planet, move into the feelings of the planet, because the planet is the great unifier. Because all the different people come from very different places, different countries, different ages, different backgrounds. It's practically impossible for all these different people to come together at the same. It's not like on the Pleiades, where everyone has a pretty similar life and a pretty similar environment. Earth has been a jumping off point for many, many different people. And so the only way that people can unite is through the planet, because that's the only thing they have in common, that they all live on planet Earth. Now, then there is another part. There are people that are not able to think in terms of planet Earth as a living, growing being. And so they will not be able to participate in this, because the only way to participate is to participate through the planet, because that is the only unifying source. Do you understand what we're saying? Or would you like to re-say that in your own words so that others can also have an opportunity to think about how they're thinking of it?
Yes, so I think that is an important point because it is a prerequisite to continue on the path of, shifting from darkness to light and recognizing that we are all part of this one collective consciousness and the planet is our source of life.
Yes. And once humanity really deeply realizes that the planet is the source of light, they will love and care for the planet, which is not occurring for most people. And unfortunately, some of the most quote unquote civilized people are the ones that take the least care of Gaia. And some of the people that are the most primitive, quote unquote, are the ones who take the greatest care. And so those who are big and important and wealthy and famous need to commune with those who are simple and loving and caring about the actual planet, the actual place on which they live. And that is a very huge undertaking. Do you understand what we're saying by that?
Absolutely. In my own personal journey, I think, and many of us recognize just the power and the groundedness and the beauty and just a reverence for life when we connect to planetary awareness and nature. And I've even heard that from testimonies of those who are aligned with the darker, what we call darker initiatives, that it was the nature aspect that turned them around and really made them realize that life is a gift and there is an option, to shift the focus to reverence and appreciation for life.
Yes, it's actually asking each of the also very civilized humans to go back into their own primitive self that sees that a tree is alive and that the ground is alive and that every animal is a being and every animal is important. And what happened is the modern man began to believe that they were more important than the planet, that they were more important in that they could control or that they could invent or that they could make money or all of the things that are strictly third dimensional human things. And those third dimensional human things are not things that will aid planetary ascension at all. And they will not at all aid personal ascension either. And one of the things that needs to happen, and it's a very difficult task, is those people that are unable to perceive the planet as a living being are going to have to be the people that will change. The also sophisticated ones need to go back into their primitive self and put their bare feet on the earth and look up at the sun and enjoy the breeze and realize that the most important thing you can do is something that will assist the planet and not something that will give you fame or wealth.
And I think that's an important point as we all consider what our contribution is. I know you've been teaching us the importance of empowerment and feeling like we have the ability to make a difference. And that's the perfect approach to take, is just embodying that reverence and sharing that truth with everyone that you meet in your unique way.
Yes, and it's a difficult thing to do. Suzanne has been doing it since the early 80s, and how much shift has happened? Have people gotten better? Have people gotten worse? I mean, some pretty horrific things have been happened that people have been doing. And it's getting to the extreme. Like there are extreme to the good of Earth. And those are beings that have been really working to assist the planet and to have vehicles that don't make pollution and save the earth. But then there are people on the other extreme. And that other extreme is that it's all about them. It's all about people. I want, I want, I want. And eventually they will be separate because those that place themselves on the planet live only on the matrix. And that's why they can ignore the needs and desires of the planet because they don't live on the planet. And one day that matrix will separate from the planet. And the planet will not be able to ascend until that matrix is released. Would you like to comment on that, please?
Yes. So do you see that happening in a natural and organic way as the frequency rises and that existence is unable to maintain a connection to the higher frequency?
Yes, that is definitely a part of it. It's about getting majorities as opposed to minorities. There is already a minority of people that live in that fashion, that love the planet and think about the planet and care for the planet. But it is definitely a minority. And then there are those that are right on the edge of survival. And they are not trying to do anything negative to the planet for their own personal gain. They are just trying to find a way to survive and to have their families survive. And then the people that have the greatest amount of power are the people that have the most nefarious needs. And that is the primary issue. But those people don't actually live on the planet. They live on the matrix. They live in their big fancy houses, on their islands and all the different places that they live. And they separate themselves from the other people and from the planet. And it's about their empowerment and their wealth. And you were about to say something. Please go.
Oh, yes. Yes, well, it's definitely a question of how, it is possible to shift that um, the power from, those who are interested in power over, how we should make that shift from those who do control the planet to a great extent, and how, we feel powerless to make any change at all. So if we find ways to contribute and to grow that from a minority to a majority, we certainly will be doing a service to ourselves and the planet if we find ways in which we have the power to make that shift. Because I don't think that will willingly occur from the perspective of the matrix.
No. Eventually, that matrix will be struck, and that matrix will break and fall apart. But Gaia is a free will planet, and she is a loving planet. And she wants to try to heal these lost ones.
Mm-hmm.
But they won't heal. Eventually, Gaia will realize that they won't heal. And eventually, and this is something that other people have spoken about, that eventually there will be like a ray of light that will come. And the ray of light is a frequency that is too high for the matrix, but it's not too high of a frequency for the planet. Now, the reason is if you have like a industrial stove, it always needs to be land grounded. If you have an industrial light, it always needs to be grounded. And so those that are grounded on the body of Gaia, they will be safe from this frequency of light that will hit because they're grounded. But those that live on the matrix and seek power over and don't care about the planet and live in greed and avarice and don't care about others, they are not grounded. They are living on the matrix. And this light will hit the matrix. It will break the matrix. And then those that inhabit the matrix will be taken off with the matrix. And then Gaia, the planet, will be able to begin her process of transmutation into the higher frequencies. Now, a lot of this has occurred, especially in the United States and those who the United States protect. That is because the United States was supposed to be the flashpoint of ascension, and it's the newest country, that in Australia. So the United States for the Northern Hemisphere, Australia for the Southern Hemisphere, and they're right on, next to each other. And that wave of ascension will be activated with those two continents and then move all around the planet. But it can't occur while that matrix is still active and still attached to the planet.
Wow. So as each of us just kind of we do a personal assessment, the greatest contribution we can make is assisting as many people as possible to focus on that grounding so that we can maintain our presence in this higher frequency.
In this higher frequency, yes. And when we, now Suzelle is saying this, but we'll say you, when humanity grounds themselves, humanity is meant to be a grounding board because they are conscious. They are conscious of the planet and they are conscious of the atmosphere and they are conscious of the other planets. And so the beings that are conscious, as well as the beings that deeply love the earth, because there are some beings that love the earth deeply, but they are not conscious of those types of concepts because they live in rural lands or in agricultural lands, but they love the planet. And those are the ones that are the final grounders because they love the planet and they will be able to pull in that light and share it with the planet. And those that have selfish needs and work against the planet, that light, that frequency of light will be too hard, too dangerous. It will disarticulate their selfish power over others' needs, because power over others is a low frequency and power within is a very high frequency. So those that resonate to a power over others, they have a low frequency of consciousness. And so when that higher light comes in, they'll get zapped because it will be too strong for them. And they will be taken with the matrix to a baby planet to start over. Because there really is no death, just next cycle. And then that cycle that occurs as that matrix leaves, then only those that have truly loved the planet will be able to stay on the planet because that's where they've always been. Do you understand what we're saying by that?
Mm-hmm. Um, and the timing is interesting because a lot of this information is coming to light on how this existence has functioned and what the aims and intentions have been and continue to be. And I always, had this optimism in my mind that, surely they will all come to realize that. And I think the Arcturian, I think you actually mentioned recently that, they're being made aware that their actions have implications. And so it's, in a way, they've been warned that if their ways continue, there will be consequences.
Because energy out is energy back.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I always held this hope that knowing that decisions would be made that would alter these intentions and they would focus more upon the well being because there is more power in love than fear.
There are some that will be able to shift out of that power over consciousness, but a large percentage of the people that have the power over other consciousness, they came to Earth from another planet and from another planet and from another planet. And in a way, they are the destroyers. And part of what I don't know what that is. What's that noise, Shawnna?
I guess that's the alarm sounding. It's my
What is-
clock.
Oh, okay. So let me see. I'll try to. Yeah. Okay. No.
That means time is up for them. That's what that means.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Time is up for those who are selfish, but it doesn't look that way, especially in the United States. It doesn't look that way. The United States was meant to be the flashpoint, and there is a major battle going on. And sometimes something really dark and scary has to happen to wake people up from that, oh, it's all cool, it's all fine. No, it's not all cool, it's not all fine. There's still plenty of darkness to be transmuted. And this transmutational process can only occur within one who does not seek power within. Transmutation is a process that can only occur once a human has moved into the energy field of sharing and of healing and of energy out and remembering who you really are, remembering that you are also a higher dimensional being. And there's more frequencies to yourself than you see in the physical plane. And as humanity connects more and more with the higher frequencies of their own self, then they will be able to have that fourth dimensional perspective and that fifth dimensional perspective. And as that becomes more and closer to a majority, then the power withins will be able to take control. But unfortunately, the power over others are in control within this now. Not everywhere, but in far too many places.
Well, I was going to say that that kind of leads into my next question, which is how can we uh, accelerate the process of the matrix being removed? I guess it's a natural process, as you mentioned, but are we able to impact that in any way?
The galactics are surrounding the planet. The galactics are here to assist. However, Gaia is a free will planet, as we have said. And humanity has to ask for the assistance. They can pray to their God. They can ask the galactics for assistances. They can give service to others. But, and a lot of people are doing these things, but a lot of people are just barely surviving. And that is because the power over others have created societies in which too many people are placed out of the realm of assistance. And until humanity is able to love humanity enough to do everything that they personally can do in their own fashion, and many, many people are doing, but it isn't 51%. It has to be a bigger percentage in order to make that shift. Do you understand what we're saying by that?
Yes, definitely. I wonder how far off we are.
Yes. That is something that we won't share, because that is something
Hmm.
that humanity has to talk to each other and find out.
Hmm.
And humanity has to listen for the light, listen for the love, and follow the light and follow the love. And when there is fear and when there is injustice, they need to stand up against it and say, no, we will not participate in your fear. We will not participate in your injustice. And before people do that, they usually have to wait until it becomes extremely extreme. And that is a glitch about humanity in the third dimension. And basically, humanity will need the galactic's help. But that means that humanity is going to have to move beyond their belief that they're the most evolved beings and realize that they're choosing to wear third dimensional vessel. But there are many others that wear fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and even higher dimensional vessels. And those beings can fix it, but they can't fix it without the majority of the planet asking for help, because it is a free will planet.
Well, interestingly enough, it feels like we've come full circle, even back to when we first began this conversation, and we were having difficulties and there was silence. So I had that chance to go within and kind of explore that deeper message, and it felt like it was, like you just mentioned, reaching those extremes that kind of catapult us into wanting to engage and make a difference and get on our feet and recognize that it is time. This is the alarm sounding, and this is the extreme. And so it is time to not just listen, but participate.
Yes, and to get out of denial. Too many people, they live in denial. They see what they want to see and they ignore what they don't want to see. And as more and more people really allow themselves to see what is really occurring, then they will say, wait a second, this isn't okay. I don't want this to happen. What can I do to change? How can we work together to change this? And it's that we, moving from me to we, moving from me to we, and we includes the planet. If you look at the Native Americans and all the people, the farmers, the people that love Earth and people that serve Earth, we includes the planet. They are all fully aware that everything in your body, it comes from something from the planet. Your physical body is made of the elements and elementals of the physical earth. You are a chunk of earth that has the consciousness of your higher dimensional self. And so when that consciousness moves into all the areas of the chunk of earth that is the body you were wearing, then humanity begins to deeply remember and awaken. And awakening and remember are the same, because as you awaken, you remember, and as you remember, you awaken. The starships are ready. There is so much help. The Palladians are buzzing the planet on a regular basis. They're talking to people on a regular basis. We, the Arcturians, are talking to people on a regular basis. And other higher beings, lots of the archangels and ascended masters and Elohim. It's just a matter of time. And leaving time. As long as people think in time, then they are stuck in time, and they're stuck in the third dimensional time. It's the moving of the consciousness into the now that allows one's perceptions to leave time and to move into the higher frequencies of the higher fourth and fifth dimension that is not bound by time and exist within the now of the one.
And I think that's the perfect segue into one of our main focus points, which will be the power of here and now. And I think since anyone who's listening to this conversation has probably reached that point to be awake and in that state of remembering, we just want to remind everyone that, they have a responsibility to contribute.
Yes, it is a responsibility. And the people, that's one of the first things that people realize when they begin to awaken, is that I have a responsibility to help this planet. This planet has a lot of problems. I need to help in some way. And you don't have to, be a genius. You don't have to be wealthy. You don't have to be any special person, because the planet is made of everyday people. It's an everyday planet, and everyday people in their everyday life can make much more of a difference than they can imagine.
Absolutely. As we all focus on that power within, we recognize that we are important. We have unique contributions to make, and together we will make a difference.
Yes, together. Together is the word, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Together as one, because we are one. So thank you so much for speaking with us. Did you have any final questions, Shawnna, or are you fine with the conversation as it is?
I think that wraps up an excellent conversation that's really relevant for everyone to hear at this time. So, as always, we're grateful for this guidance, and we have much to consider and think about and to act upon.
Yes. Thank you so much. And blessings be to you all. And we are always here with you. And we have the doors to the fourth and fifth dimension wide open, as well as the doors to our many starships that resonate just beyond. This is part of the reason why the dark ones are so frightened and revving up their nefarious ways, because they too know that we, the higher frequencies of reality, the higher frequencies of the people that are wearing an earth vessel, are surrounding them. They are above them and they are among them. Blessings.